One thing I wish I pressed on more in that video when talking about Hope Not Hate and how they were able to blackmail and get a lot of people to step away from politics or just destroy their careers. The saddest part of that I found was Hope Not Hate would just have to push a little bit, just a little bit. They didn't have to do much because they could rely so much on internal paranoia about them. You know, obviously Hope Not Hate have sent people to kind of spy on right-wingers. They've sent people to gather information, secretly record. There's been various documentaries where you'll see an individual from ITV or whatever has worn a fake camera and gone to the pub with a bunch of right-wingers to try to catch them saying offensive things. So there is some legitimacy to having paranoia about left-wing organizations or journalists infiltrating your political movement. But it became so... almost just by doing that once or twice, the greater victory that these left-wing organizations had was not whatever recording they got. It wasn't whatever photo or information. It was the ability to make the conservative movement, right-wingers, turn on each other and be constantly skeptical and get this Stalin complex of everyone in the movement is a secret spy. I saw it so often. And all Hope Not Hate had to do was play on that. Like, basically sit back and watch everyone tear each other apart, destroy each other's careers, fire like the most talented people from their jobs. You know, Lucy Brown, obviously, she got accused of being a left-wing spy all the time. And all they had to do was sit back and like watch as we ate each other using the fear that they had put in us. So it is what the stuff that they've done is completely and utterly unethical, but there is a lot of within the conservative movement. People have trouble tempering their paranoia of who is a grifter, who isn't a grifter, who is a spy, who is a left-wing snake, who is Hope Not Hate, and I think that people probably. Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, could be you. How do I know? People probably need to be more serious about getting evidence for claims, like way more serious about getting evidence for these claims. But what are your thoughts on that? I don't know if people are still experiencing this within the British right. Obviously, since my ban, I haven't been too involved in that movement.
Actually, just as a side note, when you were banned, I did write a petition from the parliamentary petition page to try and get you back. Aww. And I worded it specifically to respect your pronouns as a trans man. The parliamentary petition committee wouldn't accept it on that basis. Like, I had like a back and forth with them over like 3 months. Just like, look, you're not being very respectful. But anyway, a whole other joke about that.
That maybe, you know, you were just too early for the pronoun respect. If you had done it 3 years later, they would have been like, absolutely. Of course.
Anyway, but on the paranoia aspects, I don't know how much of that is around in these circles, because one of those things is sort of, they're only really going to come to you and secretly record and try and catch you out if you've really got something to hide in that sense. Like, you'd be paranoid. Otherwise, if you have nothing to hide, what's to be paranoid about? You can come up and record my conversation. I don't give a shit. Like, it's all online anyway. But so I haven't seen any of that, certainly since you left. Well, got banned for racism. Sorry, it's still funny. But in regards to their power, I mean, that's really where the extremities of this come in. Okay, there's some random communist group. They want to infiltrate the right, get recordings, and write their State of Hate, which, for people who don't know, is a booklet they issue every year, which is just full of names of people they don't like. And it's like, okay, cringe, but whatever. It's literally just a hate list.
See if I can bring this up.
Yeah, get the newest one. It's 2022, I believe.
The State of Hate.
Yeah, it's literally just, I don't like these people, and then list them. It's like, okay, who cares? But it's the fact that they're then able to turn that into a weapon of ideological suppression. I mean, you getting banned is one thing. Extending that to Australia and apparently the United States, I believe you mentioned as well, you got banned from.
Yeah.
That's, one vector in which they can attack a foreign journalist like you. However, what they did to George and Callum, as evidence with your conversation you recorded, that they were just blackmailing them, and they were blackmailing them with their medical records included, which you can't have in the UK. The government has those.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So they're not a lobbying group. They work for the state, and they were blackmailing journalists because they disagree with their political opinion, and being assisted So,
and let me make this clear. Like I am someone that I'm super against like secretly recording people and, you know, leaking recordings without people knowing and all of that. Caitlin and George, that was probably one of the very few conversations that I've secretly recorded in my entire life. And I have no problem publishing it for the sake of exonerating people rather than taking cuts and pieces to try and ruin their reputations, right? But I do want to make it very clear, like that conversation was secretly recorded. That was back in 2018. That wasn't some conversation that was like, all right, guys, I'm hitting record now. Say no, they didn't want this conversation public. They were scared absolutely shitless of going to jail because of governments blackmailing them, pulling them into rooms, telling them you're going to, you know, your life is going to be over. And well, that sounds crazy. I understand that sounds insane, right? The reason I know it's not crazy is because I've experienced it myself many, many times. And I don't talk about it, and I try not to talk about it too much, because this is what happens when you start getting pulled in for these government questioning sessions, when you start getting, you know, discriminated against and interrogated, you get more and more nervous that if you don't play ball with them, they're going to keep making your life miserable. Just to fly to see family members, just to, you know, do basic things in my life. I have to spend like 8 hours sitting in questioning sessions. This has happened to me like dozens of times. I'd say almost 100 times now. I haven't really talked about this publicly. Maybe I should make a video on it. But when I was flying to Canada last, I don't want to say which country from, I was told that I wouldn't be allowed to see my family if I didn't give them all of my devices, this Five Eyes government, all of my devices and all of my passwords to my devices. Otherwise, I just wasn't going to be allowed to leave and see my family. So I did. And I know for a fact I've got government surveillance on my computers. I know for a fact I've got government surveillance on my phones. I know for a fact they've bugged all my hard drives and everything. And that's just kind of a fact of life I've accepted. And to this day, I have no charges, no criminal record. I have nothing of the sort. They've never been able to jail me, nothing. So I've just kind of had to accept that I have no privacy as a political activist now. At least it's up front. At least it's to my face where they're like, yeah, we're taking your devices. We're downloading your hard drives. Good luck. At least I know, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't know. But that's like when Caitlin and George tell me, yeah, they have all of our information. They have all of our medical records. They're going to send us to jail if we don't stop activism. The reason I believe them is because I've seen it firsthand myself 1,000 times. It sounds like a Tom Clancy novel to people on the outside, I'm sure, but it's not. This stuff happens all the time. And it's a really, you know, if I seem more mopey, if I seem more shy now that I'm back in politics, if I seem like I'm like nervous about it, it's because I've experienced these things, and I'm a little bit of a, like a, what do they call it? Like an abused dog. That's like, whew, if you turn the toaster on, I'm going to be like, fuck, what's going on? Like, am I about to get arrested, right?
But I mean, the thing is, over what? I mean, what have you done?
I know, frankly? Callum, I know.
It's a good thing. Like, you've done nothing extreme. I've not seen you make anything even getting close to terroristic or promoting terrorism or even extremist organizations that I'm aware of. So, and with George and Caitlin, I mean, it's doubly understandable there. Because, I mean, in your case, again, like, you're not a direct threat to the British state, I wouldn't have thought, but apparently you are. But with them, for people outside the UK, you have to understand the culture here is far, far more controlled by political correctness than anywhere I see in North America. So those two worked with the bad man, Tommy Robinson, and the bad man...
Are we allowed to say his name on YouTube?
It's I've mostly got in the habit of it because Facebook are just so autistic. They started deleting photos of him. Like, he doesn't exist anymore. John, he took a photo with him, like holding, and then he censored out Tommy's like character to make sure it was safe. They still banned him for like 7 days for that.
It's so just weird. It's like those photos of like Stalin where he just edited out the people beside him, like disappeared. They never happened.
And the reason there's, so much focus on him and by extension Jordan Callum is because the work they did with him really did blow up, and it really did expose a genuine failure of the British state, which is to take lots of immigrants from certain communities and integrate them. It hasn't gone well. It's still going rather poorly. You can see the most recent grooming inquiry that happens to have come out in Telford. Another 1,000 victims in a single town. Fantastic. Anyway, a great example of the kind of damage they were doing was the Westminster bridge attack. Some guy drove his car into the civilians and then went down, and I believe he's the one who stabbed the police officer's death as well. And Tommy and George and Callum were round the corner. And so they went, okay, we've got to go there. And there's a video, and many people will have seen it, of Tommy near the bridge shouting, I know who would have done this. He would have been radicalized in prison, so on and so forth. And then I think Callum shouted something as well, but I can't remember what. And apparently that video got like 20 million views on Facebook. I love it.
Yeah.
That's a population of 60 million or something. So you can imagine the kind of fear they had in the effect these guys were having as a team. And so the idea that the state would threaten them is really understandable. In your case, it's mad because what threat were you posing? With these guys, you can understand why the state would doubly go
Okay, so here's an interesting little tidbit of information in the background that nobody knows. Tommy, Kaylin, George, Lucy, and I, and a few other people were planning on starting a media company in Britain. And we were having meetings about it. I have no doubt that those meetings were being recorded. I have no doubt that, I mean, like bugged phones and everything. I have just no doubt that the state knew that we were planning this and we were going to kind of prepare to launch it, talk about launching it, what it was going to look like when I was coming there to the UK right before I was arrested and banned as a racist terrorist, right? So there's a lot of things. A lot of things. Someone in my chat, like Fabio, said you look absolutely knackered, mate. I don't know if you've had a long day. It's like midnight there. Relax, chat. You're doing good. Where was I even going? I'm knackered. I need more orange juice. We're not drinking anymore on stream, everyone.
With you and the boys.
Just orange juice. Yeah. We were gonna potentially start a media company. This was before Day for Freedom. Then I got banned. Obviously, that idea kind of went out the window. Wasn't going to happen anymore. But yeah, Kaylin and George and Lucy too, they did so much work. I still to this day, like I think a lot of people watched my manifesto and they were like, oh, Lauren hates all these people that she talked about. I don't hate any of them. I think they did some of them did really bad things, really unfortunate things. A lot of them hurt me as well, and obviously don't like that. But even for the people that like Milo, Tommy, even for these people, I think they had a lot of talent in them and a lot of ability to put good into the world. You know, people aren't all bad. They aren't all good. They're a mix of the two. That doesn't mean you let corruption go, you know, covered up and untalked about, but they're a mix of the two. And I still to this day look at it and I'm like, it's like heartbreaking, heart-wrenching that there had to be all of that background drama, all of this hope not hate interference, all of this that happened that caused, you know, Kaylin and George to no longer be able to work with Tommy and for them to be separated, which obviously was what Hope Not Hate wanted, was obviously what the British state wanted, and was obviously what a bunch of bad actors in the right who genuinely do a lot of good work for the state and for, you know, organizations like Hope Not Hate by constantly causing infighting and drama and calling everyone else traitors, that caused this group to break up and all of this amazing content to never be made in the future. And I always think that's such a great shame that happened. There was so much potential to, you know, retain these large voices out there. But yeah, like that Day for Freedom. Would you reckon? Maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, I haven't been there, but I feel like Day for Freedom was the last massive right-wing political event in the UK that was allowed to happen.
I mean, the only possible exception is, you know, the stuff about Brexit and Independence Day when everyone went down and celebrated. But that's nowhere near the same. What they achieved there on Day for Freedom was essentially a new movement was being born. I mean, you could feel the energy. And the attacks from the state, I presume, are because they'd seen the rise and the popularity of Tommy's work, and therefore Jordan Kaelin's work, and just needed this to go away. There is no way they could have allowed this to continue because it really would have, you know, started to shine a light on people who haven't served any jail time for anything that's happened in regards to Rotherham. No civil servants, no councillors, No one in Telford. Just the occasional abuser goes to prison. That's it. That's the end of the investigation. I'm sure there is no one else in this web that deserves any kind of punishment. So I really think there was a fear of electoral politics maybe changing, a fear of the culture changing around issues like grooming gangs, but it just comes into this perfect storm of the work they were doing was really starting to, well, scare the crap out of them, so they had to shut it down. And I think no one's really ever going to care. That's the sad part about all of this. I mean, you're documenting it, and I'm talking about it because I want people to know. But in 10 years' time, is anyone... I mean, all of this is clearly illegal. I mean, I would have thought it's all illegal. Is anyone in the intelligence services ever going to be held to account? Does anyone care to? In any position of power? No. I mean, it's just not going to happen. It's going to become another footnote in British politics. Which is what it is, but we should all be aware of it, because if there's another movement that comes along like this, we need to make sure we're prepared for that kind of attack. Yeah. Not just left-wing. The state itself that will come after you in a big way. It's
the state itself, and it's, bad actors that are going to cause, discord and infighting and questioning one another and drama. And that's, a lot of that, just needs to be pushed back against. Too many... Oh, it's such a shame. Oh, one thing I wanted to touch on with, you were saying photos of Tommy, if you upload any to Facebook, they just get disappeared, right? That was a really interesting... Oh, yeah?
One caveat. If you're being negative about him, you're allowed.
Of course. It's amazing. I wonder how they train these fact checkers and censors, because I assume a lot of them are in Bangladesh. So how are they going to be able to go through and be all right, is this negative? Is this positive? So maybe they just have some news organizations that are, green light, good to go, because they know they're always going to publish negative things. But what I was going to say is this was one of the most fascinating parts about filming my manifesto and editing it, was trying to find tweets and pictures and videos from that era in 2015, 2016. So difficult. They have wiped Google of everything, just completely wiped it. I saw some people that were making up crazy conspiracies about me on Twitter. They were like, how was Lauren able to wipe all of these bad photos of her off the internet? And I guess it comes with both benefits and good and bad, right? Any of these embarrassing photos from super radical blogs have been wiped because all of the photos off any radical blogs have been wiped. But then also photos I needed for my manifesto and just fun cutesy ones from my past, all wiped off the internet. And it's really scary to see, because the phrase has always been, the internet is forever. The internet is forever. Is it? Because it kind of seems like they've been able to wipe whole pieces of freaking history off the internet. You look up Tommy Robinson, I tried to find so many videos to use just as reference, gone. Nowhere to be found on YouTube. I can't even find them on BitChute. If I do find them on BitChute, or if I do find them in an internet archive, they won't play. It's terrifying. I hope, I have some people email me sometimes and they're like, oh, Lauren, your documentaries, I always download them and I put them on hard drives. Y'all better be putting content you like on hard drives, because the speed at which content that I used to watch back in 2015, 2016, 2017 is completely being nuked off the internet. Go try to find some stuff. Go try to find some Stefan Molyneux stuff. Try to find some Tommy Robinson stuff. Go have fun. Even Faith Goldie. Some of the, obviously I just know these people because I was looking for their content earlier, but I'm sure it's a million other creators as well. It's wild, man.
You never think about it either until you try and go back and find it. Mm-hmm. It's just pain. I mean, you pick up on there about the deletion aspect, and I think we'll go to Lucy first just for a minute, because that's the last node before you are having to deal with the Australian government. Because with Lucy, when Hope Not Hate tried to recruit her, I don't know if you have any more insight into this. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that went down. I assume they just sent her a text or oh, would you like to meet? We hate that man too. And then they revealed, or I presume mentioned, they were working with BBC Panorama, which is, paid for by the Telly license.
Very strange. Very strange.
So again, the relationships here. I mean, you can see these guys have all networked with each other throughout the institutions and know they can work together to get things done. And definitely tried with Lucy, and it backfired. I'm so proud of her.
I thought that was so badass. And I saw people in the comments, they were like, holy, like Tommy did that to her and she still was like, you know what? F you, Hope Not Hate. I don't care. He can ruin my life, but I hate you guys more, and goes and warns him about it. Literally like movie tier, badass move, right?
But like, you know, he ruined my life, you ruined my country.
Yeah, exactly.
So that whole episode was, again, another mad instance where you would have thought someone would have been held to account because everything here is so obviously against the BBC's charter. Again, something illegal must be going on at this point. And the only casualty of that was first Tom Sweeney, who I'm sure peacefully left his position and then went on to just talk about Ukraine. That's all I see him up to these days. Mm-hmm. And then Tommy Robinson and all of his content was just disappeared. Mm-hmm. It was banned from Facebook, banned from Instagram. His YouTube channel is still there. Good luck finding it. Like, unless you have the literal URL for it, you're buggered. Yeah. You're not going to go and find videos. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, he made a short clip video just about his trip to Russia, and it's just like a vlog. It's so just normal things. Like, you know, Casey Neistat, a video. Like, there's nothing controversial in it at all. Immediately just censored. You just need the direct link to find it now. You can't find it anywhere else. I was like, okay. And the reason given for this by Facebook was, as I mentioned, they said that he had made a post calling for the beheading of Muslims. It's not there.
Can't find it Never anywhere. Existed. Yep. They just make shit up. They just make it up. I was showing a friend. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, but like, we throw people in jail for saying mean things. If he had posted that, he'd be in jail. They'd love to put him in jail. And they didn't. And then a couple of years later, Facebook Denmark admitted it never happened. It's still banned. Mm-hmm. No one's ever corrected it. That BBC article, there's no correction on it. Still there. They do corrections. Just not on this one.
Yeah, okay. Whether it be the media or like people in more, you know, alternative gossip circles, I don't know how to compete with people who have based their careers on just making things up. Like, how do you compete with that? And they do it with impunity. Like, I feel like when I say something, everyone is like, Lauren, fact check. Do you have proof? Do you have evidence? And I have to sit there and be like, okay, gotta get my links up, gotta get everything. And then everyone else just gets to run around making shit up. I'm like, what is this, Lauren? Why do you give me your hardest challenges?
But it's at like the, quote unquote, highest levels of journalism. The BBC didn't even fact check if he made the post. They just printed it.
They're bad, eh? It was like 2019, 2018 maybe, 2019. Lucy and I did an interview with a presenter at the BBC, and I'll never forget it because I want to smack myself. I'm never not recording an interview ever again. I shit you not, Callum. She completely just cut single words out of my sentences and like spliced them together, and you can almost hear it when you listen, but they've got a really good sound editor. It was just incredible. Like, if I said, you know, racism is not good, like they literally like full on like cut the knot out and just put it together. And I'm like, what? How are you guys allowed to do this? How is there? They just know they can get away with it. It's
unbelievable, the low levels of journalism. I mean, it's one thing to moan about left-wing media only covering stuff they want, which they do, and, you know, the fact that they'll delete context or ignore issues that they don't find interesting. Sure, but when you've literally got, we're just going to publish fake news, like with the BBC, we're just going to make stuff up. That's the press now. And as if you might as well just write, you know, Hitler's secret base really is on the moon for the front cover of the next. Why not? It's just as factual, exactly. But
oh, well, they did it in Canada where they just said, we've got mass graves all over the country. We had nuns just like machine gunning children down and throwing them in mass graves outside of residential schools. Do we have any bodies? No. Source? I made it up. And it caused like churches all over the country to be burnt down. It's absolutely wild. I envy them. They're sitting there with like the Thanos glove, like reality can be whatever I want. And they just get to do that all day. It's incredible. I'm jealous.
But
I'm confined by the facts of this realm.
But But in regards to that specifics, though, because we can see the power dynamic here. Facebook gave their interview and their reasoning directly to the BBC. That was the outlet that they talked to. Right after Tommy Robinson had released a documentary showing that the BBC were, again, trying to make up stories about him and acting incredibly unethical by working with a communist group to do so. And, okay, so, again, the state gets the preferential treatment from Facebook. They go kowtowing, give the story to the state in the form of the BBC, and then he's just banned, and everything's fine and hunky-dory. Don't worry about it. Don't ask about it, citizen. This can happen to you in 5 years. How about one? I mean, no one in this country seems to think what happened to him is a problem. And it's like, dude, they literally just made up crap, and he's gone. I know he's on Getter, and he does his work there. I believe he's released a documentary about his expose. I hope I hate. I haven't had time to watch it yet on there. Do you remember? Have that happen to us? Sorry, screw him. Have that happen to anyone is really threatening.
Yeah. Do you remember back in like 2015 or 2014 when it was like an international news story when someone got banned from Facebook? I still I'll never forget when I got banned from Facebook, even just momentarily in 2015. It was head of the Daily Mail, head of Breitbart, head of all the, the Sun. All of these outlets were like, holy crap, someone got banned off Facebook. That's insane. I was getting asked for comments. I had the head of Facebook, media communications personally emailed me and asked to fix the problem because it got such, massive international pressure. So think of that. 7 years ago, it was an...
That's how it should be.
Sorry?
That's how we should be living.
That's how we should be living now. Totally. And it completely just has to do with pressure. And when people give up and they don't care anymore and there's no... there's no pressure anymore. I was talking to someone about this today with the Canadian Freedom Convoy. Trudeau was going to start banning people or shutting down people's bank accounts who were associated with the Freedom Convoy, right? And he started doing it with just a few people. But you saw them massively back off of shutting down people's bank accounts in Canada as soon as a bunch of people on the ground, myself included, started running to the banks and withdrawing cash because they were like, F this. I can't trust that my money isn't going to be taken from me if I have the wrong political views. Holy, no way. And people were withdrawing mass amounts of cash to the point where ATMs across my town weren't working. I was getting reports all over. Banks were shut down. Withdrawals were shutting down conveniently. Tons of tech errors all over banks in the country. Ooh, you can't withdraw today. Because it was causing massive financial problems. You have to create a problem for the state if they do something wrong. You have to. And I mean that in a legal way. Please, I've just ruined all of those, questioning sessions I do all the time that I thought were going good. Apparently I've just ruined that. But no, in legal ways, it's legal to take your money out of the bank. It's legal to kick up a fuss about issues. It's legal to have protests for now. If you don't kick up a fuss and you don't put any pressure on the state, they will just keep taking, pushing. And people really got apathetic because they kept seeing things get worse. And then the apathy just led to more snowballing of this, pushing of our rights. It's been really sad. But there are moments that I've seen in history, like my Facebook ban in 2015, like the Canadian truckers stuff, where the government are like, fine, it's not worth our trouble. We're going to back off. And I just wish we saw that more.
And you're absolutely right. That's what you need to do. I also just want to note on the childish nature of thinking you could just steal from Canadians and block their bank accounts and that would have no consequences.
Yeah.
Let's destroy all trust in the banking system. Good luck.
Yeah. Well, he had a lot of faith in... I don't know, a lot of faith in the fact that I think the Canadian government felt they had ostracized the unvaccinated and people who supported them, or just even people who were vaccinated that just didn't think it should be mandated. I think they felt they had, through the media, through public, announcements, ostracized them enough that they would be a small enough pool to oppress. And this is, of course, what happens in every oppressive society. You know, oh, it's just those people are the bad ones. They're barely even human. They're trying to kill you all. Don't worry about them. We have free reign to take away all their human rights and do whatever we want to them because they're barely even human, right? They're just anti-vax scum. And I think they felt they had successfully pushed that narrative enough to the point where they could just steal their money. But luckily that wasn't the case. And I think they massively overplayed their hand, overestimated their power. But it is still, you know, slowly moving in that direction. So they're like, okay, fine. We didn't win this battle. All we have to do is wait. All we have to do is wait. Your kids are in our government-run schools. Wait till they grow up. They're going to be even worse than the woke scolds of the millennial generation. We've got you. And this was the long walk to the institutions that was talked about in Rules for Radicals, Zelensky, right? You just have to wait. Once you've captured the institutions and the minds of the children, it's just going to get worse. I hope you've got a farm to move to, Callum, because that's my plan.
Have you watched Clarkson's Farm?
Have I watched which?
Clarkson's Farm. Is it not?
No, I haven't. No. What is it?
Who Jeremy Clarkson is?
What?
Do you know who Jeremy Clarkson is?
No, are these all British people? I don't know British people.